Welcome to the WA Property Q&A, the podcast where I explore the ins and outs of buying property in Western Australia. I'm your host, Peter Fletcher, and each week I interview local property experts to help you to develop a deep understanding of the nuances of buying property in WA. From market trends to legal considerations, no topic is off limits. But before we dive in, a friendly reminder. While we provide valuable information, it's important to note that nothing discussed in this podcast should be construed as personal investment advice. Always remember to seek the appropriate professional advice for your specific circumstances. Now, let's get started and unlock the secrets to successful property buying in WA. Okay, welcome to another episode of the WA Property Q&A. Today, it's my privilege to have as a guest Prash Nayar. I'll let Prash tell us a little bit more about himself. But I've known Prash now for, how long have we known each other?
Good question, man. I think it's probably a few years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, time has flown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And where did we met, I think, first at the Property Tribune function or something?
That's right. Yes, it was through Charlie Gunningham, this one. So it was at the launch of the Property Tribune. So yeah, roughly about three years now. And yeah, the Property Tribune's going really well. So I was, fortunate enough to write their first article, and how they've been traveling along. It's been good to see their progress. And
they've done pretty good things, haven't they?
They truly have. Yeah. And so have you, Peter. So thank you for having me here, friend.
Oh, that's okay. It's my privilege. Interestingly, on one of my very soon to be episodes, I'm having Charlie on, Charlie Gunningham, and we're going to talk about tech and the space of tech. Where tech is going for the property industry.
That will be a very interesting conversation. That one, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. But I'm looking forward to today because you're working in some areas that I know that we do a lot of settlements out in Ellenbrook and Caversham.
Yes.
And that's where you're now working?
Absolutely, yes. For the last 6 months, we've been focusing our business area towards the Swan Valley.
Yeah, and off air, I asked you this question, and I'll ask it to you again. What attracted you?
Sure.
About Ellenbrook? What was the driver there?
Mm-hmm. I think for the last decade, Peter, I've been operating in the inner city apartment and the residential home markets. Most of my buyers that were purchasing there, who have purchased there, were looking at investments, especially in this market with the rising interest rates, and they were looking at high yielding investments. And the areas that they were focusing on, it being us being north of the river, were towards where the train lines were going. So with the Ellenbrook line that was coming up, or that was planned to come up in 2024, prices in and around the area were slowly rising, and turnover in the market was relatively high as well. So what we did was, as we were expanding our team, we decided to look at areas where there was growth potential, and to serve our clients a lot better, we decided to look and study the market. So upon studying the turnover, understanding the homes that were built, back in 2006, 7, and the prices now, I decided that it'll be a good opportunity for us to move in and see how we can capitalize on maximizing our clients' portfolios.
As a suburb, how old is Ellenbrook roughly?
Yeah, I think 2002 is when they started getting their first homes built in. So roughly about 21 years now. There are three main parts of Ellenbrook. You have the part that's closer towards the Wines, closer to that borders around Averley. You've got the central part of Ellenbrook, which is the Promenade. And I think that's where a lot of the investments are currently being focused on due to the infrastructure. And the third part borders upon the new suburbs that have come up, which is Brabham, Dayton, and of course Caversham. So you've got private estates that surround Ellenbrook. But yes, so those are the three main parts of Ellenbrook that I've seen growth in.
Whenever I've thought of Ellenbrook, I always kind of picture it as a bit of a desert.
Yes.
It seems to be a long way away from the ocean. It doesn't have a major waterway running through it. It's sort of, it's a bit, like it seems to me it's got nothing going for it. But
Yes.
clearly it does have something going for it. So tell me about that. What's going on out there?
Sure, I think you're right about the proximity towards the ocean and also towards the city. There is none. However, because it has been built out in the outer ring of the city, you're still within your 20 kilometers of most major freeways, of most connections that get you into the city. I think that has been a huge pull for many of the clients or many homeowners that purchased out there. When they started building these estates, they were reasonable prices to be close enough to the city. So these were young professionals that moved into those areas. You had a huge cultural shift as well. And there was a large demographic that purchased in those areas due to the birth of temples that came up. Before that, you had your Sikh temple and Hindu temple that was built out in Cannington. That was probably the closest temple that you'd find here to the city. But north of the river, there were very few, far and few. And when that was built out in the desert, as they say,
so there's a Sikh temple out there.
There is a Sikh temple and a Hindu temple as well.
Whereabouts are they?
So these are actually in closer towards Caversham. So this is out towards your Swan Valley area, and that's why most of the demographic that moved in there was due to the pull of having a place of worship that surrounded their homes. And
so that's a driver of growth. Do you say?
I would say so. Yes.
Really? Okay.
It happened in Cannington and Canning Vale, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people moved in there, because when you're closer towards a place of worship, as it would be, in most cultures, you would find that the purchases increase, and not only that, more people will want to move in, because we generally with the Hindu culture, you've got a large number of family members, and they move into the area just as you do.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So
on that subject, is there a lot of, shall we say, multi-generational homes in the area?
Yes, truly is. And I think one thing that has been, or that I've noticed during my time the last 6 months, has been the larger size blocks that are available out there. And I'm talking about 1,000 square meter blocks that haven't been subdivided. You've got 500 to 750 square meter blocks for very reasonable prices. And the homes that have been built on there are built specifically for their children and grandchildren to stay on. So short answer is yes, the multi-generational homes are quite a norm.
So when I've driven through Ellenbrook, it struck me that the block sizes were all fairly small.
Okay.
But you're saying that there are blocks that are much bigger than that available?
Correct.
Is that in sort of an outer part of Ellenbrook?
Yep. Great question. I think if you move from the Promenade and you drive your way north towards the Wine, so towards the golf course,
right,
you'll find 3 to 4 streets that are located in that area where there are massive blocks in there. And these are stunning homes that have been built, right? They're currently priced around the your 900s to millions. Proximity to the golf course, of course, and the fact that you've got access towards the Promenade. So there are homes that are on those blocks or full-size blocks that you find out there for very reasonable prices.
How far is Ellenbrook from the Vines?
So it's probably right neighbours it.
Neighbours.
So it depends on which part that you are looking at in Ellenbrook, of course. But the part that I'm discussing, so the Promenade and that road along, it's a kilometre away from the Promenade. So you're not very far from it. And most people, of course, enjoy their lifestyle. They've built the Wines extremely well, actually. I was there a couple of weeks back, and it was fantastic place. So it's a beautiful little spot for those that are staying there and, of course, utilising the golf course.
Yeah, it's not a bad place to be, actually. Okay, so what the more popular homes out sort of in that main section of Ellenbrook, in the Promenade area? What can you get in there?
I think you'd be looking at 3x2, 4x2s that are sitting on about 500 to 650 square meters, and these are homes that are priced between your 500 and 600. The greatest pull or the greatest highlight for a lot of our investors, and we've been getting a lot of, as you will know, Peter, inquiries from interstate investors who's increased over the last 2 years, and most of them are looking at the high yields because the rents that you'll be looking at for these properties are anywhere between your 600 to 700 per week. And that's netting them about your 7% yields.
So $600 to $700 a week on a how much? What value?
You're looking
purchase?
at about 500,000 to 550.
Rightio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a half decent return.
Very much
Yeah.
so, friend.
Mm.
And the ages of these properties, you're looking at anywhere between 2008 to 2012.
2008 to 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rightio. So they're around about 10, 12, 13 years old. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Okay. And so the demand, the rental demand out there, is it, how strong are you calling that?
Yep. So I think now because of the transport, the line that's coming into Ellenbrook, it has increased a lot over the last 6 months. So we're seeing a pull towards the area. It's not only because of the fact that you've got the infrastructure that's being grown in the area, but also because of the transport line. So rental demand is pretty high. I'll give you an example. We launched a property probably about 7 days ago on the rental market. This was for it to settle in line with a tenant in place. And a quick story, which happens to a lot of people in real estate, so I don't mind sharing this. The key didn't work in the day that we had the home open, right? Called the sellers. Sellers is in Bali, enjoying their 1 week before the property settles. And we had to go to Bunnings to have it, get a tinner key to work. Jump back to the properties. It was just my team that was out there. Gentleman rings me and he's like, Prash, we're in a kerfuffle. What do? I say, we solve it, friend. That's what we do in real estate, right? Solve problems. God. He heads back. He can't open the door. So there was about 12 groups of people that were out there. Out of the 12 people, the contact information was collected. They were followed up over the weekend. This was a Friday. On Sunday, 4 of them made rental applications. And the highest one was $100 over the asking.
Oh, my God.
So obviously, my team did the due diligence. We qualified them. We brought them back to view the property, inspect it, and then approved it. But they made the applications, Peter, without...
So they made an application, $100 a week above the ask.
That's right.
Without seeing through.
There you go, friend.
Wow.
And I think that does, say a lot, not only about the demand of the area, but also the demand of our current supply and versus,
current lack of supply.
Exactly.
No supply. Yeah.
You said it exactly, Peter.
Yeah.
In the rental market, which is forcing a lot of these families that are out there. So this young family that's moved in, very happy for them, and the property settled yesterday, and the new owner has got a return that's that much more than what he purchased the property at.
So where's the demand coming from in Ellenbrook?
Yep, you're referring to the types of people, the demographic that are moving in there. I think a lot of young families that are moving into the area or can't purchase in the inner city. I think due to or can't rent in the inner city due to the increase in the weekly rents. They're now slowly looking at the outer skirts of the inner city, which I think Ellenbrook will, in due course, when the train line comes in, will fall as the inner city. It's a tough one to say, Peter.
He
it's
sounds
a
like
tough
a real
one
estate
to say.
agent.
No, but if you think about it, that's where
how
what it's
many
becoming.
kilometres from the city is
It's
it?
25.
25.
Yes.
We're calling 25 inner city. Pressure.
And when more suburbs come out further along there, Peter.
When we're finally settling in South Geraldton.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, this is an inner city suburb. Well, and in your defence, I hear a lot of eastern suburbs, eastern states buyers agents.
Yes.
Describing Iluka
as,
oh my God, it is so close to the city. And as a Perthite, you're going,
wait a minute.
Close to the city? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But they're comparing it against Sydney and Melbourne.
Of course.
And indeed, a 25 kilometres from the city is... it's in a city.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I come from Malaysia, Peter. So back in Malaysia, 25 kilometers takes you 2 hours to drive. We're talking about the traffic. We're talking about just the way the roads are built.
Yes,
so, in that sense, me driving out 20 minutes to get to my area of business.
It is a perspective that we, in Perth, it's a unique perspective because we're so used to everything being like 5 minutes away or 10 minutes away, and as soon as you go, it's 15 kilometres from the city. What? No.
Not driving that today.
Yeah. Now tell us about the train line. That's definitely coming.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So 2024, I think December, it's when it's started to open. Hopefully with no further delays. But yes, that's coming along well at the moment. It's built in line with the Metronet. So Metronet, that's progressing at a rapid rate, which is great to see. No pun intended. They've done extremely well with its progress, and I believe Ellenbrook should have that coming along really well.
Okay. So that's December 26th, you said.
December 2024, sorry.
26.
Yeah. With the current landscape, I just got you there. Took me a few seconds.
Okay, so they're anticipating December 24. And do you think that will have an impact on property values, or has that impact on property values already happened in anticipation?
I believe it is the latter, Peter.
Okay.
So a lot of people that are buying into the suburb right now, they are quoting that train line that's coming along and how that would assist with, reaching out towards the desert. Of course, for many of them, and also the investors that are investing into it, look at it from a point of view of capital growth and how that's going to grow the area.
Do people buy in Ellenbrook because of its proximity to the Swan Valley?
Yes, they do.
Do they?
More so into the surrounding suburbs, with Caversham, for example. Caversham is so much closer towards the Swan Valley. So from Caversham, you're about 15 minutes drive into the main area of Ellenbrook. But to answer your question, yes, they do. So a lot of them do like the lifestyle. You've got vineyards that are 15, 20 minutes away.
Yeah, well, I looked at a horse property in Millenden yesterday, as I was telling you off air. And we looked around at this property. It was lovely. Wasn't what my client was after, but that's okay. And we said, well, it'd be rude not to go and have a beer, and we headed to Mash Brewery.
Good spot, friend. A very good spot.
Yeah.
And they've got mini golf there.
They do. I've played mini golf there. I fancy myself.
Yes. Have you tried the giant golfs? I don't know what they're actually called. That's the one with the big.
Play.
Yes. With the massive golf balls. Very unique. And it's they've done well with improving the the hospitality scene.
How far's like the Mash Brewery from Ellenbrook?
So it's a straight road down. You would drive through Caversham, but you're looking at about 15 to 17 minutes drive.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. About 30 Ks, yeah. Joking. Okay, so you're saying that you, back to what you can get for your money in Ellenbrook.
Yes.
5 to 600,000, 3x2, 4x2.
Correct.
They're basically your cookie cutter kind of homes, aren't they?
Correct. Yes.
Let's say you had a client with 700 to spend.
Yes.
What do they get for, say, 700 or thereabouts?
Sure. So we just appraised the property. This was close to the Ellenbrook Primary School. It's in a great location, right opposite a park. It's sitting on 633 square meters. It's a 4x2 plus theatre and a swimming pool at the back. We've appraised that at the low 700s. So I think that's what you'll be getting. It's got a fair decent square meter with a swimming pool on there, and you're close to your amenities.
Now, when you say that you appraised it for low 700s,
yes,
where's it realistically going to sit in the market?
Great question.
Because
great question.
Like
Peter.
So often you go, well, we're expecting the low 700s, and ends up being 800.
Yes,
which is the usual thing. Is that going to happen here, or are you saying that property actually could sell for, let's say, 720?
I think it's an absolute brilliant question, Peter, in our current market especially. Allow me to take us back to 2013, for example. So we were talking about a market.
This is a while back. Right?
Yes.
I'm a bit older than you, so I might not remember this far.
It's all right. We'll take you there, friend. Let's paint a picture on the supply and demand, right? So the numbers, this is when I just joined the market. I'll never forget it because everyone told me, Prash, get into real estate. It's fantastic. It's the mining boom, you'll do well. And that year, the mining boom went the opposite direction. So, the market was sitting at 15,000 homes, and obviously the demand wasn't as high price it is today. And properties that were being appraised then were selling for a lot less than what you would appraise it for.
Sure.
Now, what's driving that, as you would know, and the reason why you're asking this is the competition and the demand that outweighs our supply. So I'm an auctioneer by trade. I've been auctioneering since 2014. It's my absolute passion. One of the reasons why we auction properties is because we want transparency with the price. I'm no one to price a property. I'm pricing it based on statistics, on numbers. So what I do is I tell my clients, I think it's best that we leave it to the market to decide. I'm not buying a property tomorrow. You're not buying a property tomorrow. It's always an expected price, an emotional price. It's always a statistical price. And what's more important is the market price. So to answer your question, the best thing we should be doing is to take price out of the equation. We should be leaving it to the market to tell us where the property sits.
You've given me the politician's answer or the real estate agent's answer that I hear so often.
It's something that I think is not happening a lot in the marketplace.
But what's your gut feel on this, Prash?
The short answer is...
I just want to nail you down on this. When you're looking at this, like this low sevens, are you thinking in the back of your mind it could run to 775?
I think a 5% increase is definitely possible, yes. And that's...
So you're thinking it could run to as high as 750-ish?
The last 12 months has proven so, correct. Yes. I think that's where it would sit if we take price out of the equation.
So then why wouldn't you have said from the start, I think we're going to be at 750 to 775?
I think if I was the owner of the property,
yes,
and an agent is to come to me, and this is based on my experience, and tell me that we're going to aim for 775, then I would be expecting an $800,000 return on my property.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's really important that we look.
There's still that thing where the appraisal price and the seller's expectation, there's a difference.
Absolutely, yes. Because
you see it go the other way sometimes.
As in go lower than
as in where you go in at let's say 725, where you say low sevens, and the seller's thinking 680.
Yes.
And it ends up selling for 760.
Absolutely, yes.
Does that happen?
Absolutely, yes. And there is a select group of homeowners, which is our perfect clientele, who are realistic about the prices. And I always go back to statistics, Peter. Numbers matter, right? Mathematics is everywhere. And hopefully this is not a politician's answer, but we base it on the last 6 months, as you know, the last 3 months of sales.
But that's really difficult, isn't it? Because you base and Ellenbrook and places like Baldivis, all those newer suburbs, they're all kind of 3x2 or 4x2 on 600 square metres. So they're reasonably easy to appraise, unlike in the inner city areas where it's you've got difference in zoning and different in
variations,
sizes, and all sorts of problems there. But so you're appraising stuff that is nice and cookie cutter. It's just easier.
You're not wrong. Again, it's based on what are the similar properties that have sold, yes? But last week's statistics, as we've known in the market, may not be this week's results.
Yeah, and you're comparing sales, whereas what the buyers are looking at is what's on the market. And
well said.
If there's nothing on the market,
yes,
then how far forward do I go with this price?
Yes. Also, and then it comes down to your presentation. It comes down to the street appeal. There are a lot of State Housing Commission homes that are in Ellenbrook, which has affected, its crime rate, which I'm sure a lot of people who are listening would be attuned to. So it's important that those come into play as well when a buyer's interest is involved. But presentation, price, and Prash, the 3 Ps that I say you gotta have.
Oh my!
You happy with that answer?
Oh my God!
I knew you were gonna like that, Peter.
Oh my
That's
God.
why I brought that in. I was waiting for that reaction.
So Homes West is a factor in Ellenbrook.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Sure. So there are some streets where you have a large number of homes west, and in some cases, not all of them, that does affect the rate of crime. that has happened over the last few years. I think in any suburb, as we would know, Peter, you would have an X amount of crime, a percentage of crime.
Yeah, sure.
It has been higher in Ellenbrook. I think, of course, the distance from the city has caused that as well. But yes, so that does impact, unfortunately, not only the presentation of the homes that we sell, but the quality of living on the streets of those. So more often than not, you will find homes that have been battened down through to his hedges with security alarms and obviously with patrols that go around the area. But yes, so that's something that we have been noticing a lot, and we put that as part. We are completely transparent with our investors who purchase into it.
In any suburb and any street for that matter, there's the good end and the bad end.
Yes.
There's the good part and the bad part.
Yeah.
Is that the case with Ellenbrook?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And that's why when I mentioned we started about Ellenbrook, I mentioned the three parts. I separated the three parts.
Yes.
Not only based on the proximity to the main drag of Ellenbrook, but also due to state housing and its impacts on its relevant prices, because in some of those parts the prices may not reach as much as the other aspects of Ellenbrook.
So where should somebody be looking if they want a great lifestyle and just have a good lifestyle?
Sure. I think along the promenade would be a good idea to start from, and then you base your way outwards towards the Wines and the Averley border.
So you go from the promenade and you go north.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct. Yes. That's one place that I would be recommending if you prefer heading and popping along to grab a glass of wine on the weekends. Then closer towards the south of Ellenbrook, where you're reaching Caversham, where you're reaching Brabham. Those are newer, more private estates, stunning homes that have been built there over the last 3-4 years. We were fortunate to sell a home in 2016 in Dayton. It's a display home, and that is very much in a private estate.
So what's Caversham? Tell me, because I do not know much about Caversham, apart from that it has a wildlife
I was
park.
just about to say that. So that's one thing that's really popular is the wildlife park, and there have been many private estates that have been built surrounding that wildlife park. So you've got homes that are sitting between your 600 to 750 in the price range, and they are on smaller blocks, because when they were built as a private estate, and they were cut up as such. But there are some relatively new homes that are being built there at the moment. So you're talking about ages between 2015, so less than 10 years. That's what you'll be looking at in Caversham. You are a hop and a skip away from the main drag of Swan Valley. So you drive out of Caversham, and within 2 minutes, you'll reach Sandalford, for example. You take that same road and you drive towards the city. Within 5 minutes, you are at the Bassendean Hotel. Well, that's a direction through Lord Street. Take Lord Street from Bassendean, take a left. In 5 minutes, you drive down the road, you reach Caversham.
Yep.
So that's one of the advantages of buying in Caversham. So you're much closer towards your Guildford Road that reaches you into the city.
Yes. Okay. So is Caversham an older suburb with redevelopment that has happened to it?
That would be Ellenbrook. That would be the element of an older suburb with the redevelopment. Caversham was built after, and then came Brabham and Dayton with a new estate. So that was the progression of the builds of the suburbs. Yes.
Okay. And what about Brabham? What's that got going for it?
Yep. So very similar to Caversham in a sense that they are private estates. So there's a lot of newer homes that have come up in the last 3 years. I would say 3 to 4 years. A lot of display homes were sold in that area. So you get your 7% leases. Nice suburb to live in. Very much as leafy as you wouldn't expect it out there, but they've built the estates as such.
Do Brabham and Caversham benefit from the train station, from the train line?
Yes, they do.
They do?
So there would be a train line that connects down from Ellenbrook past these suburbs as well.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And conceivably there'll be a train stop there or something?
I believe so, yes, to be honest.
Go straight past and people just...
we'll jump on, grab a bus and turn back after.
Yeah.
From my understanding, yes, Peter.
Okay, right. Would you... If you had $500,000 or $600,000 to invest, where would you invest in those areas?
Yeah, Great question. I think firstly, I'll be looking at, as I mentioned earlier, the closest you can be, and this is purely for investment purposes. I'll be looking at where the train line is coming through. So within a kilometer out of the train station is where I'll be investing in with 500,000 today. I'll be looking at homes that are newer than 10 years, simply for maintenance and depreciation purpose. I'll be looking at rental yields that are above your 6 to 7%, which is very much likely and probable in this market. I'll be avoiding areas that are close to the fire zones, which is...
So fire zones are a problem out there?
It is, yes. So as you mentioned, because of its distance when it was built out, those were trees that were cut down to build these areas. So there is a large part of Ellenbrook that's covered under the fire protection zone. So when they were building the homes, obviously they're taken this into consideration, which may add to the insurance premiums. For those that are listening and are astute, this would form part of your investment breakdown. But yes, so I would be.
What other impacts does a fire zone have on your enjoyment of the property?
Yeah, I think it's not as much as we would think it is. Yeah, to be honest, there are multiple things you can do with the home. Adding on sprinkler systems on top of your roof is one of the most extensive thing you can do to it. The closest that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong on this for those that are listening, but the closest that a fire had ever gotten to a neighborhood was in 2014, and they were put out fairly quickly. So we've got an incredibly good service department in WA. Is one thing I've realized. Police, ambulance, and the fire departments are fantastic. So I think they do their. Rest assured that when we're buying homes there, your quality of life is governed by their expertise.
How are these suburbs in terms of shopping and amenities?
Yes, they have improved in the last 3 years. I think prior to that, they were far and few in between. But most of them in Ellenbrook, for example, you've got the Promenade, you've got your Bunnings.
So what's on the Promenade? You've got Bunnings?
Correct,
That's
very important.
An essential, yes.
It's the Toys R Us for us adults. And you've got, absolutely, friend.
Yes.
Always get lost there. I enjoy myself whenever I'm in there. And you've got your entire set of your Autobahns. You've got your fuel stations that are there. You've got your Coles. You've got a Woolworths as part of the Promenade.
Okay. And what about? So that's Ellenbrook.
Yes.
Is Caversham, does that have its own shopping centre?
It has a mini shopping centre is what I would say. So it's got a Coles in there. It's got it's got the essentials. You've got your pharmacy. You've got, of course, the liquor store that was kept open over COVID. So that's important.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Okay. So if somebody wanted to be within walking distance of shops and train station, where would they be?
Absolutely in the Promenade.
In the Promenade.
Yes.
Right,
that will be the central part of Ellenbrook. And you drive through the Promenade and you'll know exactly what I mean by it. And the houses that surround them are actually in a pretty decent spot. They've done extremely well with the parks, with the schools that are surrounding it, and I think that's where you should be buying. On
the subject of parks and schools, how's Ellenbrook for parks and schools? Yeah,
I think, again, over the last 3 to 5 years, they have truly invested a lot of money in maintaining the parks. They're stunning, Peter. Like, I was fairly surprised the first time that I drove out there and seeing these homes that are surrounded by it. And I did two things. I went and spent a few hours in those areas in the evenings, just attending the parks and seeing how the lifestyle was. But they've done extremely well in maintaining the cleanliness. The safety is paramount in those areas. And so are the schools. The schools are in top-notch quality. I've got a few friends who've got children. They go to the schools and they've been fairly impressed with what they've done out there.
Okay. Are Ellenbrook, Caversham, Brabham, are they places where you would feel safe enough to go out for a run at night after dark, or run early in the morning before sunup?
Short answer is yes. I've seen people doing that. So lifestyle-wise,
brave ones with guns.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of of an eyes at the back of their head. So at the same time, I think that the last 12 to 18 months, safety has really been something that's been focused on. I think
by the local council.
The local council, correct. So they've increased the community watch. They've got multiple new patrols that are they're moving around the area. So just like you mentioned earlier, in every street, it's going to be the good and the bad. In this one, and I think there are parts to it where you wouldn't be comfortable doing so, and there are parts where you would. And at the same time, with the focus on safety, the last 12 to 18 months, I think that's been something that people have been more comfortable doing.
There's is it the Roe Highway? I always get confused between Roe and Tonkin.
Yes.
Is it Roe that goes up there?
They're both. So Tonkin and Roe heads up towards Caversham and Ellenbrook. Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Has the works there, has that had any sort of impact on?
It has. Now the roads are much better when you're driving out there. So they've completed relatively 80% of the works have been done. Prior to that, you had a lot of roadblocks, and obviously
It was terrible.
Yeah, man. So now you've got 3 lanes that drive you out there, and you reach the Promenade section. So there's two parts as I mentioned. You've got Nangara Road that heads into the older part of Ellenbrook, and if you travel another 5 kilometers, there's a left turn that gets you towards the Promenade. They've been built relatively well, so it's safe, and it's also a road that takes you there in no time.
Okay. So it sounds like the train station is a pretty crucial piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They better deliver on the timeline, and as we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of land supply out there, because what my sense is that land supply can impact on values of established residential. Are there new suburbs springing up out that way? Is there expansion?
I think in the next 2 years, there will be. From my understanding, from my radar at the moment, I'm unaware of any, but just based on how quickly Brabham and Dayton grew through the private estates, and as you mentioned, the supply of land that's out there, there would be new suburbs that would be coming up in the coming years, and the demand will drive it. Demand that we're witnessing right now will drive that.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Well, is there anything else that we should know about Ellenbrook and Caversham? Ellenbrook, Caversham and Brabham.
Sure. Well, the 3 suburbs, I think one thing that a lot of people are not looking at right now is the fact that you should be looking at your 25 kilometers and above.
Inner city, folks. Inner city.
Which is what's going to be happening to that term when the new suburbs come up. But it's all about relative to price and square meter. When you're investing into real estate, I think when you're investing the property, square meter matters, and looking at value to the square meter, these areas are delivering in spades, and capital growth will be of paramount. When you're investing into these suburbs, I think that's what the listener should be looking at.
Prash, where do you see the Ellenbrook, Caversham, Brabham values going from here?
It has increased about 13% in the last 12 months. So I believe that will double when the train line comes through. And the reason why I'm saying that...
So you think in the next, let's say 12 months, because that will take us through to basically December 24, that we will see another 13%?
Good question. It's always never easy to answer these questions, but I think yes. I think confidently, based on me being on the ground, there will be an increase of prices at that amount. Our market will continue to progress on a positive trajectory, and with the demand that we are seeing in those areas, we should be looking at that when the train line comes through.
Ellenbrook is a very much a mortgage belt suburb. Has it been impacted by the mortgage cliff?
So far, with the discussions that we're having with a lot of homeowners, I think they're holding steady, which is a good thing to see. The latest interest rate hike, I think, will have an impact on a few more people than we'd liked it to have. We will be seeing that over the next 3 months, but we're keeping in close contact with a lot of the homeowners. And for those that are listening out there, you're always welcome to give us a call. We're here to help.
Yeah, it's an interesting issue. tell me, where the people that live in Ellenbrook, where do they work?
A lot of them work in the city.
In the city?
Yeah. So you're
because
driving.
It's in a city, that's
It's
right.
in a city, so you're driving.
I keep forgetting.
20
It's
minutes,
such a
friend.
stupid question, Peter.
Not at all. I think a lot of them do work in the inner city.
Right.
And yes, for them that with not being able to afford the prices, not only of the rentals, you're referring to homeowners, having quality of life and a quiet quality of life. You move into the city, you've got the noise and the hustle that comes along with it. But when you take that out of the equation, you find yourself in Ellenbrook. And that quality of life is what a lot of the homeowners are after.
Prash, for those people who are living in Ellenbrook and working in the city at the moment, the commute would be pretty horrendous, I would imagine.
It takes 20 minutes, and now with
20 minutes to get 25 kilometres. Prash.
Not that bad. No, we are under the speed limit. We're making sure we're under the speed limit. So I live in Mount Lolly at the moment, and from my home to the Promenade, at a decent speed that we're driving.
I'm not sure I want to hear this because you might be
incriminating myself.
Yourself.
Friend, it's always below the speed limit. So we make sure that we drive that safe and sound. And it's 20 minutes, friend. Yeah. So you're taking yourself out due to the roads that have been built right now.
Yes.
You take the traffic out of the equation. Obviously, at you had your busy periods of the early mornings and the evenings. I'm sure you add an extra, 10 to 15 minutes on top of it. But otherwise, the roads that have been built now has really shortened the commute. And while it may seem far, if you think about it on the map and you look at Swan Valley, for example, that reaching Swan Valley used to be a 20-minute commute. So now with that extension of the freeway, with the Roe and Tonkin that has been built, that has shortened the commute for a lot of people. There is a small number of homeowners, of course, who work FIFO, so they like their lock-up and leaves, and they are the ones mostly that also own property in the Ellenbrook and surrounds.
Yeah, I could certainly see that because they have reasonably good access to the airport.
Indeed.
Well, this has been fascinating, Prash.
Thank you for having me on, Peter.
I really appreciate your time and the insights that you've shown, you've given us.
And I appreciate your time as well, Peter. Thanks for having me.
So for people that want to know more about investing or buying or selling in Ellenbrook, Caversham, Brabham, out that way,
yes,
how would they get hold of you?
Feel free to reach out to me I believe this is going to be on social. So you reach out to me on the Real Estate Times. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. My name is Prash. You can reach out to me online, and I'm more than happy to assist. Are
you doing anything as old-fashioned as people calling you on the mobile?
Absolutely. My phone number will be right below, friends. So more than happy to help. Peter.
All right. Prash, this has been great. Thank you. And that's all we've got time for today.
Thank you, Peter.
Until next time, happy house hunting.
To all out there, all the best.
And that wraps up another episode of the WA Property Q&A. We hope you found our discussion valuable and gained some valuable insights into the world of property buying in Western Australia. Remember, while we strive to provide useful information, it's crucial to consult with the appropriate professionals before making any investment decisions. Don't forget to tune in next week for another exciting episode where we continue to unravel the mysteries of the WA property market. If you have any questions or topic suggestions, feel free to reach out to us. Until then, happy property hunting, and remember to seek the right advice for your personal circumstances. Thank you for listening.